Tory MPs fury at lockdown limbo. Backbenchers urge ministers to set out detailed plan for easing restrictions as Chief Medical Officer Whitty warns some social distancing will be in place for a year. Furious Tory MPs have warned the government it must spell out in detail how it intends to ease the UK's coronavirus lockdown to give businesses hope of survival. Senior backbenchers on the 1922 Committee of Conservative MPs met yesterday to discuss the government's response to the current crisis. They said it is silly for ministers not to be totally frank with the public given how well most of the population has stuck to social distancing measures. They stressed there has got to be an economy to go back to as they sounded a warning which will be heard loud and clear in Downing Street. The committee's treasurer, Geoffrey Clifton-Brown, then broke cover today as he suggested a comprehensive plan must be set out within the next month or many businesses are actually likely to cease trading. However, in a sign tensions are likely to rise, Dominic Raab said last night it will be weeks before ministers even think about putting forward an exit strategy, while Chief Medical Officer Professor Chris Whitty said some restrictions are likely to be in place for the next calendar year. The UK hospitality industry body has warned pubs and restaurants face a bloodbath if lockdown extends long into the future amid calls for firms to be given a reprieve in the form of delayed rent payments. Failure to take such action could see 1/3 of the sector go bust. There have been signs in recent days that some people are beginning to tire of the curbs on daily life, with photographs showing more people on the UK's roads and in the nation's parks. Pressure is only likely to grow on the government to provide more details of its plans, with Nicola Sturgeon today due to set out her own strategy for easing restrictions. The Scottish government will publish a new paper containing guidelines designed to chart a way forward when lockdown is eased. It will say that people will need to adapt to a new normal. It came as it emerged the government is pressing ahead with plans to set up a 15,000-strong contact tracing army which will play a key role in stopping future outbreaks of the killer bug in Britain. It will be based on the system used in South Korea, which has successfully managed to minimize its own outbreak through the use of extensive contact tracing of people who have become infected. The 1922 committee met yesterday as senior Tory MPs outlined their fears for what a prolonged lockdown could do to the UK economy in the long term. Chancellor Rishi Sunak and the government's budget watchdog, the Office for Budget Responsibility, have suggested the economy should bounce back relatively quickly once measures are lifted. But Conservative MPs are increasingly concerned that the longer restrictions are in place without a blueprint for a return to normal life being announced, the higher the damage will be to UK PLC. Members of the committee reportedly said the government needs to give firms the certainty they need to survive. One member said ministers simply have to get on with it and set out their plan in full, according to the Telegraph. The idea that the public can't be trusted with the facts is frankly quite silly. They've handled lockdown incredibly well, they said. Another member of the committee claimed that was also the view of the vast majority of the cabinet. The Times reported that Sir Charles Walker, vice chairman of the committee, said, "There has got to be an economy to go back to." Mr. Clifton-Brown, the committee's treasurer, told BBC Radio 4's Today programme this morning the government must start this discussion of how we get back to normality. He said, "We all understand that this is a killer virus potentially, and therefore whatever we do needs to be done gradually. But I think that we could, when the figures start to stabilize a bit more, the number of cases, the number of deaths, start to stabilize a bit more in the next sort of 3 to 4 weeks, hopefully we could begin to think about what are the next steps on a step-by-step basis to begin to get back to normality. I don't see any reason why things like garden centers, DIY stores, with proper social isolating couldn't begin to open."